Just like Chris headlined update 1.4, Cameron, special projects extraordinaire, he created the arena and now he's created the zombie warehouse. He's headlining update 1.5, so we got him on the phone and we're gonna chat with him about what he has created for you guys to enjoy. Cameron, what did you do before Stress Level 0?
I was working at a photogrammetry studio, scanning people for video and video games and TV commercials and stuff, basically making digital doubles.
Yeah, I remember like the way because Alex knew you originally, and he was like, Cameron basically is like no challenge is too big. Like it doesn't matter if you have any previous experience. You're like just like a kind of like a special projects guy who's like willing to just Google things until you figure it out and are confident enough to get it done. And so like that's the type of person that fits the absolute best with the type of culture we have, because everybody, you'll notice the pattern, like very little previous traditional AAA game experience in terms of working. It's usually just different disciplines coming in. So with this mode, the way it came to be is that Cameron always was like, you were a huge fan of COD Zombies, and like I remember when you were doing the arena, you kept toying around with a house level, right?
That's right. Started out as a house, and then we scrapped it because it was just too small.
Yeah, because I remember the original idea was like we wanted to make a lot more like destructible wooden things, and then once the board gun came about, it was like right before launch. Kevin like over the weekend he just made a board gun and slipped it in. And I think he dropped it off into a lot of people's scenes secretly. Because I remember in my scene, I just saw it on the table and I was like, what's that? I picked it up, and I was just like a kid in a candy store, and like you can jump a little bit in surprise when a board comes out of it. It's always fun to make stuff and just drop it off in other people's scenes and just wait until they start asking who did it. But yeah, once the board gun was there, we're like, oh, this is perfect. We'll make windows, right? And then you change it to a warehouse level so it could have more expandability. For me, like the last thing that was missing was like a technical reason, because I mean, doing things just because it's fun is great. But in a perfect world, there's always like a sort of like a R&D tech side that we're pushing forward at the same time. And for me, that was the zombies having more locomotion. And you dove right into that head on, right?
Yeah, so I wasn't really sure how to approach it, but I knew that I was going to use joints and tie it into the map mesh system, the map agent. And I just started toying around with it and just attaching joints kind of like a puppeteer and dragging zombies all over the place, and it worked out.
Once we had the board gun led to like, well, we have to have them coming through windows, and then I had no idea you were doing the zip line stuff, and so suddenly they were zip lining and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, I saw that in Chris's scene in Gunbox, and I loved it, so I threw it into my scene. And then I kind of stumbled upon having the zombies go down it on accident. I think I grabbed one of them when I was going down it or something like that.
You used it to zip line, like used its knee or something?
Yeah, something. After I did it and I had them zipping and falling on top of you, and I mean, they're definitely not very good at zip lining, but it's really fun.
Yeah, so I originally, to give you guys the background, I originally did most of the logic for the enemies. My focus was predominantly just on getting the physics side of it working. And that took so much of my time, like just getting that stabilized and getting it working. So it was really fun to sort of turn you loose on it and be like, all right, don't worry about that side of it at all. Just make them do more things, right?
Yeah, at first I was thinking I was going to need animations, and you kept pushing me, basically telling me, don't use any animations, do it all with physics. And I kept going in that direction, and I think that it saved a lot of time. And I think it works better too.
Yeah, I think of the animations as like the central nervous system. Like the animation is like what the brain is telling their body to do. And then based on what the animation is, that's what informs the joints, like what torque forces to put on themselves to try to move into that configuration. And then the reality of what comes out is whatever the physics results are. So like when they try to throw a punch, they'll throw that punch at you, but if their arm's been stabbed or shot or something, so it's too weak, it won't be able to quite make it because it doesn't have the strength to really do it. And so it's kind of more of like a limp noodle punch swing. We could go in there and add animations to give them a little bit more like nuance, like their legs could kick or different things like that. But really the bones of it is the physics. That's the connective tissue that makes it stitches everything in Boneworks together. Having done enough projects myself, it's impossible to bring anything to completion without having a few other things tempt you that are like, it's always harder to finish something than to start a new thing. What's eating at you that you want to do next?
Oh man, I really want to do vehicles. I really want cars, I want planes, I want a squirrel suit. I started messing around this morning and made a wind tunnel and like a hang glider, and we definitely have to go down that road because really fun.
Yeah, ever since I played Breath of the Wild, I'm like, man, I want to bust a glider off my back two-handed and like pull it out. Man, it'd be cool to do like a sort of sci-fi glider thing. Like the running joke in the office is always Inspector Gadget. It's a completely dead IP that has exactly one chance of living again in this world, and that's VR. Because go gadget helicopter and go gadget anything, especially if you had voice commands. Oh my god. Anyways, these are not things that we are currently working on, by the way. Just things we kick around or whatever. So don't expect them in 1.6. So that is the zombie warehouse and the board gun. Thanks for taking the time, Cameron. I guess in addition to that, Kevin came in and he actually added lights to the zombies' attacks, as well as to the zombies' the blood hits. So they do the fluorescent blue blood hits. This makes it way cooler in dark environments. Really adds a lot to it. It's all GPU performance based, and so Boneworks is always more CPU heavy than GPU heavy. So I assume that most of you guys have the headroom for it. If not, you can always toggle it off as well, but it definitely adds some visual flourish to it and makes it look way prettier. On top of that, I went through the player and I added I did a whole pass on the jumping. I take sensors and I look at the launch velocity. So I measure when you leave the ground, how fast you're going, and from that I can figure out where the apex of your jump's gonna be and when they're gonna hit the ground again. And so based on that, I make the leg lift time it so it perfectly apexes when you apex, so you get the highest lift. What that means to you guys is that it's a lot easier to jump up on top of boxes. I don't know how much easier, but a lot easier. And on top of that, I went through and I kind of looked at the entire player from a high level, and I started rearranging things that weren't quite making sense. Once you have everything stood up, it's a really great exercise to like take a step back, look at what you've made, and be like, does this order of operations make sense? And so in doing that, I was able to kill a frame of latency on the inputs across the board, as well as on the grab, so like your body slots when you're running around. Formerly, I didn't know this until I checked into it, but they were actually running a frame behind. And so this should bring them on the right frame and make it way more consistent. So little quality of life improvements like that are on the player, tightening it up, trying to eliminate as much latency as we possibly can from your inputs so that it feels really crisp on your fingertips. So enjoy 1.5. Thank you guys for staying, following the project. Thank you guys for being excited for our next games, as well as further updates to Boneworks. And it's been a pleasure making for you guys. Enjoy 1.5.